The silence in this apartment is a physical thing. It has weight. It presses down on my chest, fills the spaces where Leo's laughter used to be. I find myself listening for sounds that no longer exist. The jingle of his keys in the lock, the low hum of the electric razor in the morning, the soft thud of his worn-out running shoes hitting the floor by the door. But there's nothing. His ugly green coffee mug is gone from the drying rack. His side of the closet is a hollow cavern. The bathroom counter is sterile, stripped of his shaving cream and the cheap, sandalwood-scented soap he loved. Even the indentation his body used to make on the right side of the mattress is gone, smoothed over into a flat, unforgiving surface that feels like a stranger's bed. I'm not crying. Crying feels inefficient, a waste of hydration. I think the part of me that could cry has been surgically removed, leaving behind a clean, numb void. I feel like a medical examiner standing over a body that was once vibrant and full of life. Our relationship. And I'm here to conduct the autopsy, to peel back the layers of skin and tissue, to trace the path of the wound until I find the exact moment the heart stopped beating. I need to document the precise angle of entry, the internal hemorrhaging, the cascade of system failures that led to this. To this silence. There's no mystery here, though. I know who the killer is. I'm just trying to understand the weapon I used and why, when I was holding it, it felt so much like a logical, calculated tool. I keep replaying the last 6 months in my head, not as memories, but as data points. Leo and I, a 4-year case study. He's a physical therapist, grounded, methodical, a man who believes in the body's ability to heal with patience and consistent effort. He finds satisfaction in small, incremental progress. I'm a marketing strategist. I live in a world of projections, pivot tables, and controlled outcomes. I don't fix things. I optimize them, rebrand them, or I scrap them for a new campaign. Our decline wasn't a dramatic crash. It was a slow, statistical decay. The frequency of date nights dropped by 35%. Our evenings went from cooking together, debating stupid movies, to sitting on opposite ends of the sofa, the blue light of our phones painting our faces in a silent, lonely glow. Conversations about the future were replaced with logistical check-ins about groceries and whose turn it was to take out the recycling. His attempts at connection, a hand on my back as I worked late, a simple, "How was your day?" I started to register as low-effort engagement, maintenance rather than growth. And in my clinical, arrogant mind, I had diagnosed it all. I even tried to apply my professional toolkit. One evening, I literally suggested we conduct a quarterly review of our relationship, complete with key performance indicators. He just stared at me, a deep, wounded confusion in his eyes, and said, "Bianca, we're not a brand." I saw his reaction not as a plea for genuine connection, but as resistance to a logical solution. I saw the trend lines and I extrapolated. This was the inevitable downturn, the relationship reaching the end of its product life cycle. I told myself it was natural, that all couples either evolve or dissolve. And ours, I concluded, was dissolving. There was a sick kind of pride in my own clarity, in my ability to detach and analyze the decay without getting my hands dirty with messy emotions. I wasn't heartbroken. I was a consultant identifying a failing asset. What I failed to factor into my analysis was Leo's core operating system, his one non-negotiable variable. He told me once, early on, about his parents. His father hadn't just cheated, he had brought the other woman into their family home, into his mother's bed. That act didn't just break up a marriage, it poisoned the very concept of home for Leo. He cherished our apartment. He was the one who spent a whole weekend sanding and restaining the old bookshelf the previous tenants left behind. He was the one who fixed the perpetually dripping faucet with a YouTube tutorial and a sense of quiet pride. For him, this place wasn't just rented space. It was a sanctuary, the one place in the world that was supposed to be safe from that specific kind of desecration. It was his firewall against the past, a detail I knew, of course, but I had filed it away under background information, not active landmine. That night, it plays out in my mind now with the excruciating slow-motion clarity of a car crash. Leo called around 7. An elderly patient of his, Mrs. Gable, had taken a bad fall. He was at the hospital with her family, said he'd be there for hours, maybe all night. He sounded tired, but his voice was full of that gentle, responsible warmth he reserved for his patients. Her son is a mess, she's all he has. I just want to make sure she's settled, he explained, as if he needed to justify his own decency to me. Don't wait up for me, B, he'd said. I hung up and felt nothing. Not concern for Mrs. Gable, not sympathy for Leo's long night. Just a quiet, chilling confirmation of my thesis. We were living separate lives. His world was Mrs. Gable's fractured hip. Mine was a spreadsheet of Q4 engagement metrics that suddenly felt monumentally important. His crisis was an inconvenience that cleared my schedule. Later, I was out for drinks with colleagues. Tobias from the design department was there. Tobias is fine. He's the human equivalent of beige wallpaper, inoffensive, forgettable, and easily replaced. He has a perfectly symmetrical face and laughs at all my jokes, even the bad ones. He looks at me with a kind of uncritical admiration that I used to get from Leo, but which now felt like a novelty. He was a variable I could control. As the bar buzzed around us and he told a story I wasn't listening to, the thought slid into my mind, slick and fully formed like a snake. This is how it ends. Clean, efficient. A controlled demolition. Bringing him back to the apartment wasn't a lapse in judgment. It was a conscious decision, a strategic move executed with the cold precision of a corporate takeover. Every step of the way, I was narrating it to myself, justifying it with the detached language I used at work. This isn't really cheating, the voice in my head reasoned, it's just accelerating the inevitable. It's a field test of a foregone conclusion. I'm gathering data to support my hypothesis. The Uber ride was silent, the elevator ride was a blur. As I unlocked the door to our apartment, the home Leo had so carefully built, I felt a flicker of something, hesitation, guilt, but I smothered it instantly with more logic. This space is already compromised. The foundation is cracked. I'm just documenting the structural failure before the official collapse. He complimented our apartment, picking up a framed photo of me and Leo hiking last summer, both of us grinning, sunburned, and stupidly happy. I felt a surge of irritation, like he was a tourist touching an exhibit. He wasn't supposed to interact with the artifacts of our shared history. He was just a prop in my private, pathetic play. I steered him to the kitchen, poured him a glass of Leo's favorite whiskey, a peaty, expensive single malt he was saving, into one of Leo's special crystal glasses, the ones his grandfather had given him, the ones we only used for celebrations. It was a final, deliberate act of contamination, a way of proving to myself that nothing was sacred anymore, that I was right all along. It was just an asset to be liquidated. Tobias was gone by midnight. I'd made sure of it. The experiment was over, the data collected. I rinsed out his glass and left it on the drying rack, a single, gleaming piece of evidence of my own intellectual superiority. I felt a strange, hollow victory, the kind a scientist might feel after proving a bleak hypothesis. I had been right, our foundation was rotten. Then I heard the keys in the lock. My blood ran cold. It wasn't supposed to happen this way. The plan, my perfectly controlled scenario, didn't account for an early return. Leo walked in, looking utterly exhausted, the hospital pallor still clinging to him. He dropped his keys in the ceramic bowl by the door, the familiar clatter suddenly sounding like an alarm bell in the tomb-like quiet. He didn't see me at first. He just stood in the entryway, shrugging off his jacket and rubbing the back of his neck. "Mrs. Gable's going to be okay," he said to the empty air, a tired smile touching his lips. Her son brought me a terrible cup of vending machine coffee to thank me. He was sharing a small victory from his world, attempting to bridge the gap I had already decided was uncrossable. Then his eyes scanned the living room and he froze. His gaze wasn't on me, it was on the coffee table, on the second whiskey glass, the one that wasn't mine, sitting next to my own. A perfect, damning pair. He looked at the glass, then at me. His face, which had been etched with fatigue and quiet satisfaction, went completely blank. It was a terrifying transformation. All the warmth, all the emotion just switched off. He didn't shout. He didn't get angry. He just looked, his eyes tracing a path from the glass to the faint scent of another man's cologne. I could suddenly smell myself, and finally to my face. The silence stretched for an eternity. My mind was racing, cycling through a dozen excuses and logical deflections, ready to deploy. It's not what it looks like. We're already falling apart. This is just a symptom. This doesn't change the core data. But they all died on my lips, turning to ash in the face of his stillness. He finally spoke, his voice quiet, raspy, and devoid of any accusation. It was pure, agonizing confusion. "Bianca," he said, his eyes still locked on the glass as if it were a venomous snake. "Why?" He took a step closer, his gaze finally lifting to mine. The look in his eyes wasn't anger. It was something far worse. It was the look of a man watching his home burn down from the inside. "Why in here?" That one question, in here. It shattered my entire self-constructed reality. It wasn't about the act itself. It wasn't about Tobias or jealousy or a broken promise. It was about the location. The violation of the sanctuary. All my complex analyses, my trend lines, my strategic justifications, they were incinerated by the raw, simple pain in that one question. He wasn't a failing asset. He was a man I had just destroyed, and I had done it in the one place he thought he was safe. The next morning, I woke up alone. The sun was streaming in, mockingly cheerful. I walked into the living room and found him. He was already packing. Not in a frantic, angry way, but with a methodical, detached calm that was far more chilling. He was folding his sweaters into a cardboard box, his movements precise and economical. It was like watching a stranger decommissioning a shared space. "Leo, wait," I started, my voice sounding weak and alien in the quiet room. "We need to talk about this. I can explain." "Explain what?" he asked without looking up. He taped the box shut, the sound of the ripping tape unnaturally loud. "Explain the data you've been collecting, the logical conclusion you reached." The words hit me like a physical blow. He had always seen through my bullshit, but I had never realized how clearly until that moment. "I was confused," I stammered, hating how pathetic I sounded. "I thought we were drifting apart. I made a mistake, a horrible, stupid mistake." He finally stopped and looked at me. The disappointment in his eyes was a bottomless pit. "A mistake is forgetting to pick up milk, Bianca. A mistake is booking a flight for the wrong day. What you did, that was a choice." He picked up another box, this one full of his books. "You didn't just bring someone else into our bed. You brought your contempt for us, for me, into our home. You took the one place I felt safe from my past, and you turned it into a replica of it." He paused, his voice cracking for the first and only time. "You destroyed it here. You made it the same as my childhood house." He didn't need to say more. He had just articulated the depth of my cruelty more effectively than any accusation could. I had taken his deepest trauma and used it as a weapon against him without even realizing it. He walked past me, carrying the box to the door. He didn't slam it. He just closed it gently behind him, and with that soft click, my world ended. A few hours later, a notification popped up on my phone. "Leo has blocked you on all platforms." The cut was clean, swift, and absolute. A few days of hollow silence passed. I was marinating in a toxic stew of shame and a lingering, stubborn indignation. Part of my brain, the arrogant strategist part, was still trying to reframe the narrative. He overreacted. It was a symptom, not the disease. Relationships end. I decided I needed an ally, a validator. I needed someone to tell me I wasn't a monster. I called Ava. Ava is our mutual friend, but she's always been a little more mine. She's pragmatic, sharp, the person I go to when I need a no-nonsense perspective. I met her for coffee, launching into my carefully curated version of events as soon as she sat down. I painted a picture of a dying relationship, of my confusion and loneliness, framing the night with Tobias as a desperate, misguided cry for help. I minimized the details, especially the where. I made it sound like a simple, common mistake. "I know I messed up, Ava," I concluded, trying to inject the right amount of tearful regret into my voice. But for him to just disappear, to cut me off completely, it feels so extreme. Ava was quiet for a long time, stirring her latte, the tiny clinking of the spoon against the ceramic the only sound between us. She didn't offer the immediate sympathy I was banking on. When she finally looked up, her expression wasn't comforting. It was weary. "Bianca," she said, her voice flat. "Stop. Just stop talking." I was taken aback. "What? Did you forget?" she asked, her eyes searching mine for any sign of recognition. "Are you really that disconnected from him? Do you not remember why Leo hasn't spoken to his own father in almost 20 years? The question hung in the air, thick and suffocating. "He told you the story, I know he did," she continued, her voice gaining a sharp edge of disbelief. "His dad brought a woman home, to their house. while his mom was visiting her sister. He didn't just cheat Bianca, he defiled the one place his family was supposed to be safe. You didn't just make a mistake. You found the most painful memory of his entire life, and you gift-wrapped it and handed it to him. You did it in a sanctuary, you became his father. Ava's words didn't just feel like a slap in the face, they felt like a complete system reboot. The narrative I had so carefully constructed, the one where I was the misunderstood, logical partner dealing with an inevitable decay, was obliterated. I was the villain. It was a simple, ugly truth. I went home to the sterile apartment and started cleaning, a desperate, physical need to do something, anything. I was throwing out old magazines and takeout menus when I saw it. Leo's old tablet, tucked under a cushion on the armchair he used to read in. He'd forgotten it. My heart hammered against my ribs. For a moment, I thought about just putting it in a box to return to him, a peace offering. But my fingers had a mind of their own. I turned it on. The battery was almost dead. It wasn't password protected. He always trusted me. I didn't know what I was looking for. More evidence of our decay, maybe? Something to prove I hadn't been completely insane. I opened his files, my hands shaking. And there it was. A folder, innocently named Our Next Step. My breath caught in my throat. I clicked it open. Inside were 3 documents. The first was a partially filled-out mortgage pre-approval application from 2 weeks ago. The property address listed was for a small house with a yard, the one we'd driven past a month back. I'd made an offhand comment about how I'd love a garden. He just smiled. The second was a browser bookmark folder labeled Rings. Clicking it revealed his browsing history from the week before. A local, independent jeweler, the page lingering on a simple, elegant sapphire engagement ring. My birthstone, the final piece of evidence, was what broke me. It was a screenshot of a text conversation with his sister. Her message read, "Are you sure? She seems so distant lately." Leo's reply, sent the day before everything happened, was a single, devastating line of text. "She's just stressed with work. It's my job to build a life so safe and so happy for her that she finally lets herself believe in it. I'm almost there." And so, the autopsy concludes. I am back where I started, in the silence of my crime scene, but the numbness has been replaced by a raw, flayed-open agony. The evidence is all here, laid out on the sterile examination table of my memory. Cause of death, a fatal, self-inflicted wound born of arrogance and cowardice. I spend my nights here now, in this empty apartment that has become my prison. My phone is my warden. I have an anonymous account, one he doesn't know about. From this pathetic, shadowy corner of the internet, I watch him. I am a ghost haunting the periphery of a life I willingly set on fire. He hasn't blocked the public, of course. He's not a man who hides. A few days ago, he posted a photo. It's of him and his scruffy dog, Buster, on a hiking trail, the one we were supposed to go to this fall. The sun is filtering through the trees, lighting up the gold in his hair. He isn't smiling, not really, but there's a calmness in his eyes I haven't seen in months. A peace. The caption was simple. A fresh start. Every post is a new incision. A picture of him having a beer with friends. A shot of the sunset from his new apartment's balcony. Each one is proof of a world that continues to spin, beautifully and brutally, without me in it. He is healing. He is following his own advice, patience and consistent effort. And me. I, the great strategist, the one who saw the end coming, am trapped in a loop. I refresh the page. I zoom in on his face, searching for a flicker of the pain that consumes me. I analyze the likes and comments from new names, female names, cataloging potential threats. This is my work now. This is my KPI. This is the hell I built for myself, one logical, catastrophic decision at a time. I was right about one thing. Our relationship was ending. I just failed to realize I was the one holding the axe.